Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see and hear us okay. Let us know in the comments if that's the case. I can't log into my other computer because for some reason, it's technology. It always lets you down, right? I didn't realize that you have to charge this thing. It's like I don't know where the charger is. I'm not in charge of chargers in our business. And so I can't watch the comments on my other computer. So I have to go on my phone and do it.
What is that? What is
What do
that?
you mean? It's a mouse.
Oh, it's a mouse. Oh, it's the my MacBook mouse, isn't it? The Apple mouse, right?
Yeah, I think it's got a little app on it. It's an Apple mouse. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize it needs charging. The charging fairies have not charged it. So they've let me down. Essentially. So yeah, my screen is not working. The charging fairies have not done their job. And so for my mouse is not working, unfortunately. Right. Let me come out of my Facebook. Otherwise, that is going to annoy everyone. So James says, looking forward to this. We've got Cindy. Hi, guys. How are we going? Just let us know if you can see and hear us okay. Do you guys have a charging fairy in your business? Because mine's, disappeared completely. So let me know if that's the case. Darling, who's meant to charge my things? Yeah, I'm just not in charge of charging in any way, shape, or form. So we all have that person in life, right? That does that sort of stuff for us.
Yeah, I have a charging fairy. He just charges all my things. And I don't have to worry about it. I wake up in the morning, it's 100%. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. I go to bed and I swear I'm like falling asleep to TikTok, and then it's there. My phone's fully charged. Then I go to bed asleep with like
Wow.
2% battery, and then it's like it's there 100% the next day. The charging fairies did it for sure. Yeah, Jade knows what I'm talking about. She's got a charging fairy. I highly recommend it, guys. I don't know where you get a charging fairy. They're magical. They just appear for sure.
Yeah. But is the Apple mouse, is that the old school MacBook charger, or is it just a USB-C? What is it? What's the actual charger for it? What's the port look like? Is it like the same as the keyboard? Okay.
No, it's like a completely different
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know that one existed.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's a completely different one. So it's not like I'm being awkward and it's here. I don't know where it is. It's like, yeah, I don't know where it is. Falling asleep to TikTok. What happens to self-development for bedtime? I'm watching like TikTok kind of stuff, like motivating stuff and that type of thing for sure. Everyone wants to know. Debbie wants to know, who are these mystery people? They're fairies. The charging fairies for sure. Cindy is the charging fairy, but yeah, that's enough about fairies. But yeah, that's what happened. The charging fairy didn't do their job, and they're non-gender specific either. They're the fairy, so it's not a he or a she, just non-gender specific for that role. So yeah, whatever.
Do you have any? Do you have any go-to people you follow on TikTok who are actually helpful and not just sort of random dancing videos?
Yes. So for me, my TikTok viewing, I've got quite an interesting algorithm, I think. I'd love to know more. I'd love to know what my stats are for the algorithm. So I follow a lot of sports-based stuff, and I do naturally. So my motivation comes from a lot of sports-based people, personality. It's funny, I was talking to Hayden this morning, and for anyone that's watched this, it's quite a bit of a weird, random one to watch. But has anyone watched The Edge of Everything, which is the new Ronnie O'Sullivan documentary? I think it's on Prime. I'm not sure.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Watched it last night. I don't watch a lot of stuff outside. We mainly watch sport in our house. I think I've spoken about this before. So we mainly watch sport. So there's always sport in some aspect that's on in our house. Whether mainly football, because obviously we're big football fans anyway. So a lot of my motivation comes from sports people, male, female. Some of my heroes, my biggest heroes, Michael Jordan, Roger Federer, Serena Williams. That's where a lot of my motivation comes from, and where I get that. So anyway, last night I was watching the Ronnie O'Sullivan one, which is called The Edge of Everything. And I'm going to watch the Wayne Rooney one a bit later in the week as well, which is supposed to be really good. But I grew up on snooker, so I've got an interest in it. But I appreciate Ronnie O'Sullivan one might not be for everyone because it's quite a niche sport, obviously. But I encourage anyone to watch it. And I was telling Hayden about it this morning because it's quite a unique aspect of what personal demons he's had to break in order to, you know, adapt and change him over the years. Very motivating and insight into the mind of someone who is the GOAT in his particular field. I'm always massively influenced and interested in hearing from whoever is the best in their field. And Ronnie O'Sullivan is the best in his field. It's as simple as that. So I want to hear
Stephen Hendry.
Pardon?
It's not Stephen Hendry, isn't he the best? Stephen Hendry? No, he's not the best.
No, he's second best. He would be. And it's funny, actually, the Jimmy White's in it, Stephen Hendry's in it, and he just equaled, I think, Stephen Hendry's one, and that's what the progress is about. But Ronnie's different. He's a different type of player. He's an instinctive player. So it's all that process. If you like snooker, it was my dad's favorite sport. He loved Ronnie O'Sullivan. He grew up, you know, all through that. So I had an interest from a snooker point of view, but also, like I said, I'm always interested in hearing from the people who are the greatest in their field, whatever the sport is, to be perfectly honest. And I suppose whatever the vocation is. And that's what I tend to get driven on TikTok too. So if people are massively successful, I pick up a lot of Elon Musk stuff. I pick up a lot of Joe Rogan stuff. You know, the people that are, I think that's what ticks my algorithm box. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't specifically go after anyone. I think that's just where it kind of leads me. I don't know if anyone else is the same, but it's always, I definitely get a lot of sports motivation stuff driven to me. The guy that, you know, a lot of sports coaches and things like that tend to pop up on mine quite a lot. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Brian says, no, it's Ronnie. Ronnie's the GOAT.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, it's called The Edge of Everything. I haven't watched the Wayne Rooney one, but another one to watch is obviously The Last Dance. That's a phenomenal one as well.
Watched it like twice.
Yeah, I've watched it, I think 2 or 3 times. And also there's a great one. I always forget the name of it about Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer as well. The greatest Wimbledon final of all time. So anything like that, I absolutely love. What about you? Where does your algorithm take you to motivation?
Yeah, I think it's like Elon Musk videos. Annoyingly, I still get the odd like Andrew Tate one, but he kind of annoys me now. Because to be honest, he's just like a guru, isn't he? He's just a really good guru. At the end of the day, that's like where he made his money from being the ultimate guru. Like he just did it better than everyone else because his marketing was so good. Well, his marketing was brilliant. But I get the old clip, and I find it so cringe when I see like these normal guys, and they're like the motivational music behind, and it's just like, oh god, it's so cringe. And I think I'm getting too old now to watch that sort of thing where you get the, the movie backdrop where like the hero music, and then it's behind like someone like Andrew Tate speaking about some castle. I'm just like, it's just so cringe. But I guess like fighting stuff as well. To me, it's like UFC. I get random stuff like that. But yeah, Elon Musk. My favorite podcast right now, apart from Beyond the Buy Box, is obviously it's like the All In podcast. So I get a few clips from that. So is anyone who watched the All In podcast, then comment. It's really good. It's basically like 3-4 billionaires who have a podcast and speak every week, and they kind of speak about like current events. But they're from different sides of the political spectrum, so they're not just all on the right. So you get quite a good view from people who are obviously very successful in life. So
yeah,
I really like the All In podcast. It's like you have like My First Million, which is really good, and those guys are sort of 10, 20 million successful in business, but then the All In is like the step above, where it's like the billionaires discussing different topics, and they get like presidential candidates on, and really recommend the All In podcast. It's interesting. So I get business stuff, a lot of Elon Musk stuff, especially like that where he told someone to F off. last week, which was hilarious. Really.
Yeah.
Bob Iger to F off, which
It
is
was,
just
yeah.
crazy.
As a Disney fan, you can imagine how well. Do you know what is interesting? I completely understand that, and I totally agree with that. Disney's gone in a very weird direction. It doesn't stop you being an old school fan. Essentially, you know, I love going to Disney World and everything. I've actually had a few people say to me recently, who knows someone who, you know, friends and family, and obviously probably you guys that have been around me for a while, know that we go to Disney quite religiously every few years. Interestingly enough, for the first time ever, I had somebody say to me, do you think you'll stop going with everything that's going on with Disney at the moment? And I was a bit like, I know what's going on with Disney, and I know the trouble they're in, and you know what, how certain people. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, guys. This is not what it's for. Look it up yourself. You'll be able to find that information. But you know, it's a classic go. You know, a little bit like go woke, go broke. So they've gone in a very, you know, certain direction that people aren't comfortable with. You know, and anyway, so and I'm like, no, why would it affect? You know. At the same time, I go there for the enjoyment of what I grew up with and that nostalgia and the kids there. I don't go there to listen to the message, you know, and this is what, well, do you know what's really interesting though, after that thing, Bob Iger, by the way, who is a phenomenal CEO. I will say that. I watched his masterclass on that masterclass thing, and that was phenomenal. So as a CEO, he is phenomenal. He attributed, you know, he could be attributed to everything of Disney's success over the last 20 years. Bob, he was in charge of all the acquisitions, of all the IP acquisitions, Star Wars, Marvel, which, you know, changed the game, obviously, for Disney. So from that point of view, brilliant business mind. But he came out of the business a couple of years ago, and so another CEO called Bob Chapek came in, and he changed the direction of things. And unfortunately, it got a little bit out of hand. And what Bob Iger came back and said recently, which I love this about him, is he come back and said Disney's lost its way a bit. We need to go back to focusing on the story and stop trying to send out a message, which I think is a really smart thing to pick up on and recognize, because that's what Disney is. It's an entertainment company. Entertain. People don't want to be preached to. And I've got a very strong definition between the two, where I can differentiate the entertainment that I go to Disney World for. Just because I go to Disney World doesn't mean I align with their message. You know, does that make sense? So that's why, yeah, I've got no issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's, I believe it's because they're pulling advertising from X.com and stuff like that, where obviously it's just, I like X.com because it is, people are right, it's the only news outlet where there's no real sort of censorship, really. It's like obviously minus agenda, which, so you can actually get decent opinions rather than every other news outlet. It's the only one left that actually has sort of neutral opinions, and I'm always looking for like opinions in the middle. That's what I always seek out. For me, I always try and seek out information that is right in the middle, because I want to hear both sides of the argument. I don't want to hear just one agenda. So that's what X is pretty good for that. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good for that.
And but, I think that's the same as everyone. And yeah. Oh, by the way, hi everyone. Sorry, we're just carry on. We're just like chatting on, and we're 20 minutes in, and we've, you know, just been talking about this. But I think it's really interesting to talk about that. And like what Cindy said, love this. What you're watching, listening, reading at the moment is a good thing to talk about, actually, because if you think about it, we're so influenced by all of those things. Like today, after watching that Edge of Everything I feel, and I don't want to spoiler alert it for anyone. I'm not going to talk about it because I think someone could watch the same thing and get a different message from me. I got a very strong message, and it felt very aligned with my personal business journey over the last few years, with something that Ronnie O'Sullivan went through. And so it really appealed to me. It might not appeal to another person in the same way, but it is so is so important to talk about and give different perspective and see what you can get from it. I don't want to spend my evenings now watching I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here. I'm not saying I don't watch crap, I do, but when I watch crap, it has to be like real crap. It has to be like proper car crash crap, essentially, if I'm gonna go down to that point. But I'm also not one of these that I've been in situations where people are like, I don't have a TV, I only read. If you've got a 65-inch TV, then blah, blah, blah. But it's why I watch so much sport, actually. I think sport is always on in the background, because with sport, you don't have to concentrate 100%, where, it can just be on in the background while I'm doing something else. So I definitely recommend that. And there's some great suggestions, we've also, so if you haven't watched any of those, make sure that you do, or listen to those podcasts for sure. Whoever said the Redeem team, that's a brilliant one. I watched that one as well. The Burnley one, Road to Burnley, and even the Wrexham one, that's a great one as well. It's a bit more Hollywood, but good story of determination, that type of thing. So yeah, I love watching all that sort of stuff. Anyway, to the point, but welcome everyone that's joined us. And do you know what someone said about Dave Grohl? Actually, some of the stuff I watch, do you know what? This is what I love about the TikTok, actually. And whoever's put about the Dave Grohl one, it's Chris. He said about that's exactly what I do. So it doesn't have to be sport, but I'm definitely drawn towards anyone who is the best in their field. I like knowing what goes into the mindset or the insight into somebody who is the best in their field. And that could be if someone is a champion pancake flipper. It doesn't necessarily have to be sport or music. I'm interested in people that really excel in life and what it takes to be the best, essentially. So yeah, that's what I tend to get interested in. I watched a guide to do with drums. So that might be whoever watches it, Chris, whoever watches the Dave Grohl one. I don't know if you watch the guy. This is a really fascinating but random one. Jonny, I think you'd like this one. So what he does is he listens to an intro of a song. I don't know if anyone else has seen this. And then the music goes blank. So it's like a song that he's never heard. And then it's to do with the musical ear. And he can continue playing exactly the same tune as what the tune should be. I don't know if I've explained that right, but it's fascinating. So I don't know who the guy is, but he had Chad What's-his-face from the Red Hot Chili Peppers doing it. And it was just phenomenal. It was,
Kroger? No, that's not Kroger.
yeah, the one that looks like...
That's the other guy. That's the other guy. No, it's not Chad Kroger. That's the guy from Nickelback.
Yes. No, it's Chad something. I can't remember.
Chad Smith, maybe? Chad Smith.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one as well, anyway, for anyone that's listening. But, is it Drumeo? Yeah, there we go, Drumeo. Love that one.
So question, do you think talent is inborn? Do you think you're born with talent? Do you think you're born with these skill sets? And then obviously the greats are the people who work have those skill sets and obviously put the hours in over time. So like all the famous documentaries, obviously like Michael Jordan, if you look about like Kobe Bryant and Cristiano Ronaldo, they go before practice and after practice. They're always the first to get there and last to leave. What's your opinion?
I always think I don't know what the answer is, but I think sports people are the best comparison to that for someone natural talent versus hard work. And I do think a really good comparison is obviously the argument of who is the GOAT in terms of modern day football, Lionel Messi versus Ronaldo. And, equally, you could ask 100 football fans and you'd probably get a 50-50 result on both. But what is quite obvious is Lionel Messi is through talent and Ronaldo is definitely through hard work. He wouldn't have achieved the level that what he achieved without hard work, discipline, like you said, getting there before. I'm not saying Messi doesn't have that, because obviously he is, you've got to have that. But I do personally think to be the greatest of all time, it's not just on hard work. You've got to have the talent as well. And another good example is someone already mentioned, again, Andy Murray versus someone like Djokovic, Andy Murray versus Federer. I think the ones with the extra talent, determination, and hard work have longer sustainability. Whereas I think Andy Murray is the perfect example of achieving what he achieved based on pure determination, hard work, and everything like that as well. But his body broke because he didn't have the natural talent that and Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic did. So yeah, I think you can get to the same level, but I don't think you have longevity if you don't have that natural talent as well. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think there's certain things you're supposed to do in life, and a lot of things are inborn, in my opinion. So take yourself, for instance. I think you're supposed to be sort of in front of a camera and then speaking to audiences. You're a chatty person, and I think that's probably, I'm sure you're like that all your life, where you're always quite chatty and sociable, right?
Yeah.
So I think
I'm a social person.
So that sort of talent to host and be in podcasts and present, I think, is always just an inborn ability that you'll be naturally a lot better than someone else at the majority of people. So yeah, I do think so. I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think talent plus that level of determination will always win over, hard work, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean you can't achieve great things. Like I said, I genuinely think one of the best examples is Andy Murray versus, and I feel bad for Andy Murray. Geez, talk about coming through at the time where not only are you facing the best tennis player of all time, in my opinion, which is Roger Federer. Then you've also got two waiting in the wings, Nadal, who, plagued by injury, but then Djokovic as well, which, like someone else said, Djokovic will be on paper the best tennis player of all time. He will now. But for me, it will always be Roger Federer because of that natural ability and talent as well. Hey, I didn't know we were starting a sports podcast, but here we are. But same reason for Michael Jordan.
Well, we made an announcement last week that we're now a sports podcast.
I know, definitely. And you know what? It could float my boat a little bit. I could definitely go down that route. Yeah, it is so fascinating. And that's what I said. I get a lot of inspiration from. I do get it from sports. I do get it from business people, especially women in business. I follow a lot of women in business as well. But definitely for me, sports people will always bring me the highest level of motivation and where I go to. Yeah, I've seen Air. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, when I was training for my fights back in the day, when I was doing Muay Thai and fighting, I'd always go to other athletes for inspiration, and like David Goggins as well, of course.
Yeah.
But I'd always look at like UFC fights.
I love him. Yeah.
I would always look at UFC fights and people were going for like 25 minutes full out and just not seeming to be tired, and listening to them do interviews and how much work they put in, and that would always motivate me, and from other great people, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, Chris. Would Murray have done as well if he didn't have the three to push himself? Absolutely. Again, you've always got to have someone to chase. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, one of the best movies of the year for me. Absolutely loved it. What a great watch. Matt Damon's one of my favorite anyway as well. So that ticked all the boxes for me in that respect. Right. Well, let's move on because we've got two other main things that we want to talk about today, but one we'll kind of talk about quickly. And then I really wanted, Jonny, we don't get Jonny that often on Beyond the Buy Box because you're always like jet setting around the world, or, you've got the warehouse and all these things. So I wanted to dial into you this time of year, what it's like kind of running your operation at this time of year, being one of the biggest UK sellers in the amount of units that you sell on Amazon. So I wanted to kind of touch base with you on that whilst you're in the thick of it, busiest time of the year. So before we do that, I just want to give a quick update on obviously on the Section 3 that some of you guys would have probably known by now that we'd been going through. And I don't want to spend too much time focusing on this because I am going to do a separate video and a PDF based on the whole experience, that if it rears its ugly head again, that you guys will have, instead of me just saying, oh, watch the Beyond the Buy Box podcast where we talked about it for 10 minutes on the 6th of December or whatever. I want to have something tangible pinned in the group that you guys can go to if it rears its ugly head again. But good news, obviously, is we got through the section 3. We received the notification on the 9th of November. We actually, for anyone that doesn't know what it is, it's a section 3. They put your account under review because they suspect that you are selling inauthentic products, counterfeit products. They withhold your funds, and then they give you either a brand or they give you a certain amount of ASINs that you essentially have to prove that you're not selling, that those goods are not fake, they're not counterfeit, they're not inauthentic, and you have to prove it. And they request a list, as long as your arm, of documentation to support that, or evidentiary support that those products are not fake. Okay, and you as a company, you're not a dodgy person, you're not this and not that. So we had that, and this happened a lot of time. It happened to a lot of other sellers, and a few other sellers were having like 3 or 4 different ASINs, 1 ASIN, something like that. We got 18, and at the time we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to prove all this. You know, being a reseller, we didn't know if what we had was acceptable, that type of thing. So anyway, that happened on the 9th, and we thought, okay, we're going to do this. Anyway, to cut a long story short, and I'm going to cover all this in the processes anyway as well. Last Friday, we submitted the information, I think, on the 18th. So I think we submitted it. No, sorry, not the 18th. I think we submitted it 8 days later on the 16th, because we had a document that was 356 pages long that contained all of that information that they were requesting. So, you know, it takes time to gather 365 pages of information and put in a certain order, which we suspected that Amazon wanted. So it had to all be, you know, put around and do this. And then on Friday, which was the 1st of December, we got the notification. And I must admit, after all these years of selling on Amazon, I didn't think I was shocked. But I was shocked. They just accepted the appeal straight away. No issues, no declines, no, we need any more of information, none of this. You know, Jonny, how shocked we were. We were not expecting it. I was even talking about at some point, we may never see this account again. That was very early days, because there was 18 ASINs associated with it. And it's quite unusual, I think, to have that many ASINs associated with it. And then the fact that we got through it without a decline, and also without an interview, because interviews are something that people are seeing at the moment, requesting an interview. So yeah, we were kind of shocked. But then it's one of those things that we did everything they asked. And I know people are saying, yeah, but I've done everything they've asked. But my biggest tip here is to say, have you done everything they've asked? So, you know, I think that's quite a knee-jerk or a standard reply when you see a rejection from Amazon, to think, well, I've sent you that. But have you understood exactly what they want? Because you may think you've understood what they want, but have you? So I think that's the first. You need to almost take personal feeling out of it. And the way that we worked through this appeal was very point and do, essentially. So it was like, it was a tick box exercise. We took emotion out of it. Does that make sense? It was very much, they need this and they need this in this format, and we put it into that. So that's how we went through. And I can't talk about it in detail now because it would just be like an hour of talking about it. So I'm going to put it all in a document that shows the format of how we did it. And like I said, 356 pages of it. But everything that they asked for on the list, we supplied, with exception to the letter of authorization, because we didn't have it. It's as simple as that. So if you do not have it, again, this is another tip, certainly do not try and fake anything, or try and change anything, or manipulate anything, or it's just not worth it on Amazon. They will find out for sure. So the other thing I would say is as well, and I know Daniel's watching, he did a post to the contrary, and I don't want him to think I'm picking. He went through and he's been passed now, so he's done the same. The other thing that we didn't do is we didn't hassle account health, which I have been told on quite a few different occasions, the more you hassle account health, the less they deal with it. Not from a, oh, we're going to annoy them point of view, but it's like every time you call them up or every time something happens, that it's almost like they put you to the bottom of the pile again. And, and it goes through that process. Now, I can't prove that. That doesn't come from Jeff or anyone. I've heard it from a few different people. I've suspected it for some time. But all I can say is go on our experience, which is we did exactly what they said. We supplied it in the format that we'd heard and researched was acceptable. We called them once after 3 days to see whether it had been received, because you don't get like, oh, thanks for your information, it's been received. And we left it and we got reinstated. So
it's good to take your time. Take your time with it. You took your time.
We took our time.
Yeah, 1-2 weeks before you replied and made sure you had everything right.
Yeah. So we actually, I don't want to say this too loud just in case Amazon's hearing, we actually were missing about four pages. So it should have been 360 pages. We were missing 3 shipping confirmations. And yeah, so we were missing 3 shipping confirmations. So we were worried about that. We were like worried, okay, we're going to get rejected. We were expecting to get rejected. We were confident that we'd done everything that they'd asked, but it also got to the point they gave us a time limit. We had to submit everything in 10 days or face suspension. And so it got to 8 days, and I said to Matt, we got to send it now. It's better to send it and then not. So that's what we did. And yes, it got through even with some missing information. But like I said, we're talking one bit. If, what's 18 divided by 356? 10. So it's, each ASIN probably had 15 pages. So there was like, out of 4 of them, 1 page was missing out of 4 of them. Now I have by the way, Darren, I'm going to come back to your comment in a moment, because I know you guys have been battling a bad suspension for a long time. But what I have heard thrown about, of in jest, and I know Matthew Wright said it as well, is the fact that, and I want to dismiss this even as though I know it's been said in jest and a joke, because I don't want people to think this is fact, is I have heard that, oh, Amazon saw it was 356 documents and just thought, oh, we'll just pass them. Amazon do not do that. That is not something that enters Amazon mind. So I don't want anyone thinking, oh, okay, great. If I submit 500 pages of documents, they're just going to pass me. Hopefully you'll agree with me on that, Jonny, right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I'm a little bit with that rumor. I actually think if someone
saw, you think it is the case?
No, not 100%, but I just think if you saw 350 pages, I bet they scan through and be like, okay, this looks like this seller knows what they're talking about. They don't look dodgy. They like kind of do like I imagine they sort of scan through rather than like reading every single word, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they scan through and read every word? I doubt it. I bet they just scan through and like, okay, this looks pretty legit. Okay, we got this ASIN. Okay, cool. The seller seems like they know what they're doing. Let's just reinstate them.
I think they must have some sort of algorithmic software that picks up. And I think it's like a tick box thing. So say, for instance, if you submit all that, and this is pure wild speculation, guys. This is wild speculation, but it kind of makes sense. I think they'll like give you a score, say for instance, like 20, then they'll have like an algorithmic thing. And if you hit that 20, you pass, maybe, you know, and they scan through it. I'm not saying they sit down and read every single thing, but I think you hit certain benchmarks for sure. There was no, oh, there we go. Daniel said, I was told they're using software for this. So yeah, it's got to be something algorithmic. So, but at the same time, I really don't want anyone to think that you could just submit 500 pages of irrelevant stuff. Everything was exactly what they asked for. So let me go back to Noreen's comment. Did you submit everything in one PDF? Yes, we did. So we'd actually heard, and this is why. So when we first got it, we rang account health and found out. And Matt very quickly sort of said to the person in account health, surely you've got some sort of, he said, this is going to be hundreds of pages of information. Surely there's something that's going to block this email coming through, because they told us to attach every page to it. And they were like, no, we've got blockers. Just send it through. It'll be fine. Just attach, which I know some people have been told. But then we'd seen a couple of success stories where people had sent it through on one PDF, and we didn't want it to get rejected through the sheer size of the file. So we did it on a PDF, and then Matt reduced the PDF down. Does that make sense? I know it will to you, Johnny. So I will check. I don't know if Matt's watching, but we had to reduce it down to a certain gig. Is that right?
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, yeah. In order to get it through. In order for it to be, yeah, compress it. So because the file was so big, obviously. But yes, it was on one continuous PDF. So one attachment.
Yeah. When you're doing your yeah, so for any other sort of IP complaints, if you're doing your plan of action, then you can write it out in Word and save it as PDF, and then you attach it as like a letter, right? Because the little box doesn't give you enough room to do your actual appeal. But yeah, I think just touching on the letter of authorization, I think Amazon will always remove, well, it seems like they usually remove those IP claims even without the letter of authorization. But the issue is if a brand does it, they can just keep filing the same complaint. So if you do get some sort of IP complaint, it's better just to remove the listing after removing the complaint. But yeah, we've actually got our account health back up to 1,000 now. So yeah, suck it, Paul. So yeah, it's
not Paul Hudson who's watching, by the way. Let's make that clear. Not you.
So we're actually we've managed to get things back on track now. So yeah, you seem to you can get a lot of the IP complaints removed, just even without letter authorizations. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And that's the point I wanted to make as well, is I want to make it clear we had 18 of these ASINs, and we did not submit one brand authorization or one letter of authority. But what we did do is we had official invoices. And this brings me back to what I'm saying is we were saved. I don't want to, I've had loads of people contact me since, you know, saying, congrats, well done. Matt Cromie gets all of the credit here. I would not have passed this review if it was down to me. It's as simple as that. Matt is a stringent record keeper. So when I create, and, you know, I'm going to take all the glory for it, essentially, I get all the congrats and everything like that, but it all comes down to Matt. So I'll give Matt the shout out and credit here. He is a stringent record keeper. And this is what you need to be in this business now, because there used to start this business and used to say, well, wait until you're VAT registered, then start, you know, requesting your invoices and do this and do that. You guys can't do that anymore. You need to be stringent. You need to be very consistent in the records that you're keeping. To cut a very long story short, what Amazon is looking for, they don't care if you've got brand authorization. In America, this happened on a US account in particular. I suspect it will come over here in some way, but in a different kind of way. But no, this is the new norm moving forward for IP, for counterfeit, for proof of authority, whatever way you look at it, what it comes down to, they don't care if you've got authorization of the brand. Amazon do not care. What they care about is tangible evidence to prove that the supply chain of that product. That is what this exercise was. It was to track and show the full process of purchase from us of the product to delivery to the customer. So a little bit like if you're trying to prove, they call it provenance, if you're trying to prove the authentication, I can't say that word, authenticity, I should say, that's the word, authenticity of like a Rembrandt, okay? They want to track from when that was painted right up to the latest sale. That's how you've got to look at it now. You have to be able to prove the full process of that purchase to delivery to customer. Now, obviously, delivery of customer is something simple like the FBA shipping confirmation, because Amazon shipped it. We didn't ship it. Amazon did. Okay. But they also want my UPS of sending it into Amazon to prove that's the same product being sent into Amazon. So when you guys are saying that you've sent everything in, especially for this thing in particular, did you send the shipping queue? Did you send your UPS or your FedEx or your DHL of it leaving the prep center? Did you send confirmation from the prep center that had been received? I'm talking, they want every single detail. They don't just want the invoice and the shipping queue. They want everything in between. And then on top of that, they also want to know who I've purchased it from is genuine. So we also included link to the product on the website, link to the company's address details, and confirmation on the website if they had it that they were an authorized supplier, and a link to that point. So, and this was for every single ASIN, as well as our own personal company details as well. So I know when people are saying I supplied all that, have you supplied it at that level? That's what they're looking for. So not only am I covering my back, I'm covering the person's back I've bought it from. So I think if you ask yourself that, if you can say yes, that you've done everything like that. And like I said, we even submitted missing some information. So from what I've seen where people are talking about this issue in particular, I don't know if people have understood the level of what needs to be supplied here. That's why I'm going to create and put together this PDF showing what we'll do is, I'm not going to do one with 18. I'll do one ASIN start to finish of everything that you need to supply for this, because this is here to stay. This isn't going anywhere. So from now on, if you purchase a product, and you have to have an invoice if it's bought online, but they will accept a till receipt as well, providing it details that product and shows that product exactly. If you are purchasing from somewhere that they will not give you an invoice with the product showing exactly what it is, or if you're purchasing retail arbitrage and it says item toy 36, just stop buying from them.
Yeah, I agree. You know what's really funny about this is that Amazon retail are probably the worst for not getting authorization from the brand. I've spoken to and worked with a lot of brands before who always complain about leaks in their supply chain and how Amazon retail somehow always get their products and they have no knowledge of it. Most of the cases, this is what actually happens, by the way, is that a brand will complain to me and I'll be like, well, are you selling to someone like Costco? And they're like, oh yeah, we sell to Costco. And then the Costco, basically what Costco do is they sell them to Amazon retail. So yeah, this whole brand authorization thing, it's so rich coming from Amazon who do it themselves. They're the worst for it. And then they will cut the price under like MAP. They will go low of the price. And then the brand's like, what the hell? Like, so I don't, it is a pain because it's like one rule for us and one rule for Amazon.
It is. Retail. And I do say this all the time, unfortunately. I'm always going to play devil's advocate on this. You know, I always have to feel like I'm the person that not the voice of reason here, but it really is a simple choice. And me and Matt argue about this. Me and Matt Cromie argue about this all the time, because that's his response, but they're doing this, and they're the worst for it and whatever. I'm like, it's their playground. You have a choice whether or not you play on their swings or not. You can walk on by and you can go to the next park. You can play in the green open fields, but if you want to slide down their slide, if you want to swing on their swings, you got to follow their rules. It's as simple as that. And and the thing is, they're going to be the ones that are going to be telling you not to slide down the slide backwards, but they're going to be doing it themselves on the next slide. And you have to accept that. It's as simple as that, unfortunately. Is it right? No, of course not. But everybody has a choice. Nobody is forced to sell on Amazon. Nobody, you're not, no one's got a something to your head. I can't say the word because it'll get banned on Facebook. But it is a choice, unfortunately. So it is a case of do as you say, not as we do. But I want to go back to Matt's, to Darren's comment. I know that they're going through a rubbish suspension. It's interesting what you've put there, actually. It was an IP claim. I want to find the comment. And the company was willing to retract it. So that's always the first thing to do, is if you've got an IP claim, the best thing to do is to get the company to retract it. But in this case, they're actually saying it had gone over the time frame to retract it, which is, ridiculous. I get that. But I don't know if you guys have already done this. If you have already done it, there's not much more you can do, obviously. But have you asked the company to write you a letter on a headed template? Just, if they were prepared to do that, maybe get back in contact and say, look, they can't do this. Would you mind just popping me over a letter? They can email it. It doesn't need to be physically sent, on headed company note paper, just to say, and give them the information that we are happy to retract this claim. And Amazon might take that, because I know when Ahmed had his issue, when he had the Care Bears issue, they were with, I think that they did accept like a written confirmation as opposed to the retraction of it through the system. So that would be my next play, if you haven't done that already, is to get them to do that and see if that's something that can be retracted from that point of view. I don't know if you've got anything else to add there, Jonny.
No, not that I'm aware of. No, I don't think so. I think we're all good.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do. But then again, don't give up, guys. Don't give up. I know someone that got their account back after 3 years. I know you're 14 months in, and I know it feels like you want to give up, and it feels like it's a permanent suspension and you're never going to get it back. But you will get it back. You've just got to keep persevering with it. It's as simple as that. Ring up, speak to account health every time you submit. I do believe the rumor of don't ring them on the same day of submission, wait a couple of days, submit, wait a couple of days, then speak to somebody there. And if you get a helpful person, they can't tell you exactly, which is ridiculous, what is needed. But it's about finding that right format, unfortunately, about how to submit it, when to submit it, what to do. But perseverance above everything else, I'm afraid. But yeah, and of course, speaking to someone, I don't know if anyone's handling the suspension for you now. If they are, then it's just a case of keep going back to them with the information to reword and send in every time you get a rejection.
Yeah, my VA just works with Seller Basics, and they just email each other with plan of actions, and most of the time it always gets removed. Pretty much any IP claim now gets removed. So yeah, I highly recommend a company like Seller Basics or to work with someone who just knows what they're talking about and knows Amazon. That's what they specialize in, right?
Yeah,
definitely. So give them
a shout. Good, actually, if we can see if we can get anyone from Seller Basics to come on.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm sure that the lead guy, he's American, so He's good. Yeah, I listened to all
Well,
of his
I was going to say
talks
that's
in New
okay.
York.
We accept Americans too.
Yeah, yeah, we're just not just a UK podcast. We're
Yeah, we
also
accept America. All Americans welcome too, for sure. So it's massively frustrating, Darren, completely, but just keep going. Yeah, and they'll be holding they hold your money, they hold the stock, and then they charge you storage whilst it's happening. It's it's a scam. It's awful. I hate it. And it's so frustrating. And I'm not even going to try and patronize you by saying, oh, it'll be all right, and that's the way it is. It's incredibly frustrating. But you've just got to persevere with it, unfortunately. But I am definitely going to do the separate video and PDF to show exactly everything that was included. David said, did you send invoices along with the order confirmations? We sent just invoices. We actually, in this case, we had invoices for all. So the advice from me now has to be only work with people supply invoices. Like Superdrug, I know, is a big one. They won't supply invoices, or for certain things. So if you know that, you take a gamble to continue to order those moving forward. But what was funny, we did have one purchase from Superdrug on this, and it was one that they'd sent the blimmin' invoice on. Like, of all the luck in the world, it was the one that we sent the invoice on. So yeah. Oh, and another thing as well, bit of a misconception. We had a couple in there that were Amazon flips as well. So for me, that's confirmation. Although I've had IP claims reduced in the past for Amazon, removed, for IP claims in the past, but just for me, extra confirmation that actually Amazon flips, if done correctly, are totally acceptable on Amazon, because we obviously passed the review and we had quite a few Amazon purchases in there as well. So just from that point of view, it's the company's seller basics. I don't use them, but Jonny, I know you do, and you definitely rate them.
Tom uses them as well, and he rates them a lot. I think they're great. I've always said that it'd be nice for a UK company to come out who knows UK law as well. They do know a little bit, but they're more obviously well versed with the American law. So I've always said it'd be nice for a UK company to come out with that, an IP specialist in the UK, because then I'd feel more comfortable knowing if anything terrible will happen, then we could take people to court, because a lot of this stuff, like if you do get suspended for like IP complaints and you are actually buying through the right channel, then it's anti-competitive behavior, and I don't think it's actually they have legal grounds to stand on. So it's nice to actually have that support where if the worst comes to worst, you can sue these brands and actually have a leg to stand on. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the hardest thing is nobody, especially in the US, you don't want to get involved in litigation if you don't have to, essentially. But having someone on your side definitely is, for the price it costs or anything like that, it's absolutely worth it. But I almost feel like this is the second. We didn't actually get suspended for this. We were under review, but obviously funds withheld, everything like that. And I genuinely didn't know if we were going to get through this. As time went on, I was getting more and more confident. But, day one, I was like, it's over, not going to sell on Amazon, that type of thing. And I've had so many lovely compliments from people saying, how do you, you've got nerves of steel. How do you stay so cool? Believe me, the first 24 hours, I did have a bit of a meltdown. I'm not going to lie over it. But at the end of the day, I think experience in just general business. I'm not a flapper anyway as well, so that helps naturally. But it is that reassurance of knowing that everybody, everything is resolvable on Amazon for the relentless. I knew it was always going to come back. It was just how long it was going to take. How much frustration were we going to have to endure? It's a bit like a game of chicken, I think. you know, who pulls away first, essentially. So you're almost playing a game of dare or chicken with Amazon. It's like, who's going to break first? So and that's what it is in a lot of these cases. But Darren, Chantal, definitely try and get a letter on company letterhead from the person withdrawing the complaint. And I don't know, that feels like that could might be a missing piece of the puzzle. So please keep us updated on that. I'd love to hear if that, you know, did anything, or if it didn't, then I would know I'm talking rubbish or not. For sure. You know, it would be confirmed. Just what Karina said then. Sorry, you took it away, Johnny. Sorry. What Karina said. Did we do a summary page? I actually can't remember on that. Because like I said, Matt did it all. So yeah, and again, Matt said we interpreted everything differently, so we just sent everything we had, but we sent it in a really methodical way. So we did do a summary page, but again, I'm going to detail everything of that. So it was like, welcome to our 18 ASINs, you know, kind of selling life. So yeah, it was done. It was like a shitload of information, but done in a really formatted, methodical way. Point and do. This is this, but we didn't annotate as well. So again, mixed messages on both. Matt was like, should I highlight, which they say you can, should I highlight on the bank statement, the purchase, because they'll never find it? And I said, no. I said, I would rather have it come back rejected than get a suspension for manipulation of documentation. So ours went through without annotation as well. So that's what I'm sticking with, and that's what worked, essentially. So yeah, hopefully that will help. But like I said, I will absolutely do a you know, I'm going to do an overview of it, and everything will be fully laid out, what we did, why we did it, how we did it. So it'll be a PDF, and then what I'll do is I'll do a video, like a walkthrough of the PDF, just explaining each point, which hopefully, you know, if it helps one person, you know, it'll be worth it 100%. But yeah, we sent everything including the kitchen sink for sure. So yes, that was our little adventure, but I must say I'm incredibly grateful. We got through it relatively unscathed compared to others, but all credit to Matt Cromie. His like I said, if it was down to me, I'd still be out, funds withheld. You know, Matt Cromie is brilliant at documentation. So you've just got to be able to store. Anytime you buy something now, you got to have the full process. Little, you know, it's just little things like shipping couriers. What we didn't realize is they get rid of the information after 3 months. So then you have to manually request it, which takes weeks and time. So every time now, you just got to save it and or print it or do something. You've just got to save every bit of that supply chain process. I know it's a pain in the bum, but it's part of what you have to do now. If you want to stay in the game, that's what you're going to have to do.
It's not just a charging ferry. He can also do other things. Matt Cromie.
I know. There he's a document king. He is a document. He's one of these. This room that I'm sat in is in the office, and wall to wall is like the Kallax IKEA things with the boxes in, and they're all labeled, and it's got like electric bills from 1998 and stuff like that. You know, if my house ever caught fire, it would go up like a tinderbox. Honestly, there's so much paperwork in this house. Matt documents and keeps everything. So I'm not allowed to throw anything out until it's 7 years. So I always say to him, can we get rid of that? We don't even own that anymore. No, got to keep it for 7 years. So think like that. You just got to keep everything now.
God. Can you come to my warehouse and just sort of organize the paperwork?
Yeah, he's king of paperwork. So yeah, for sure. I know he is goat of Amazon rules, for sure. Yeah, he likes justice. He says he missed the charging ferry thing, so we'll just move on. We'll move on from that. Right, so back to you, Johnny. But yeah, guys, keep your eyes peeled. We're going to be talking. You know, there's going to be a lot of content that we're going to put together around that. So it could be the last time we hear about it, but if it isn't, then you guys will have the information that you need. And like I said, it was quite funny when I said about it. Someone mentioned, oh, I didn't know if you're going to create a course on it and charge for it. I would never do that. This information should be available for all. It shouldn't be behind a paywall. I said that from day one. You know, as soon as we got through it, I would document the whole thing for everyone to use. You know, by rights, I could stick it in the hive, you know, behind the paywall, essentially, and say it's privileged information. But, you know, there's information, I believe, that should absolutely be available to all. And, you know, this is it for sure. You know, it's why we run the communities that we do. So yeah, for sure, we're gonna do that for sure. Make sure it's available for everyone. So back to you, Jonny. Jonny,
Yeah.
you're in a warehouse.
I am.
And you're not in an exotic location. So why are you there? What happened? You know, I know you can't go into it in too much detail, but obviously you were known for someone traveling the world while having it all, having the warehouse, but you got pulled back to the warehouse unexpectedly. And here you are talking to me in the UK.
Yeah, I can't share too many details, but a couple of months ago, 2 months ago, we had to let go of our warehouse manager for well, gross misconduct, and to be honest, he wasn't just doing the best job. At the same time, we let go of our stock controller, and then the warehouse's manager had some family members working here as well, so a stepmom and a brother. So basically, overnight, I sort of lost 4 staff members. So you know, this is the thing when you create a business, sometimes you've got to step into different roles and put on different hats temporarily while you try and rebuild and, you know, get back into the business. So that's where I am now. For the last 2 months, I've been managing the warehouse as well as running software businesses and the back end team. So it's kind of been non-stop. Yesterday, thankfully, we have a new guy in. Fingers crossed, will be the one who will take us through to the next sort of 4 or 5 years in this warehouse, and he's a lot more mature. But yeah, we kind of lost our management team, but the business is never been better actually right now in terms of sales and growth. And we've had such a good October and November, but you know, it's something like you were saying to me, it's good to get back in the business sometimes and just sort of yeah, really just sort of stick your nose in and yeah.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, you can become too detached. And I know Tom Parkinson spoke about this. Obviously, one of the reasons why he closed his UK business, which he was very transparent about by his own admission, you know, lots of things had changed in Amazon, but it was a very outsourced business, became too detached. And I think by your own admission now as well, that I did say, because obviously we knew that your new operations manager was going to be starting this week, and I was like, please, Jonny, I hope you've not booked out like a flight on the second the day after he's there. But
team leader, so the guy saw yesterday was more the manager, team leader. The operations
Yeah.
manager is another role, which is more Amazon side, like
Yeah.
business brand relationships and etc. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is we all go through these periods in time, regardless of whatever size of your business that you run as well. I said to you, I think, didn't I, last week or something like that? Are you grateful? I actually think, you know, grateful it happened because you've stepped back into the business. You know, we all knew that from a business partner point of view that Jonny, you had places to be. You were going to be in Greece over Christmas, you know, everything like that all got cancelled. You stepped back into the hold, you changed your plans for everything. But now you're through the worst of it, essentially. Like I said, you see it more as and you're grateful for the opportunity that it happened, because now you're in a slightly different direction, but heading to a better place. You were in a worse place and now you're heading to a better place, right?
Yeah. So my biggest stress factor for the last year has been the management of this warehouse, just because of how you know, needy. I couldn't really do much. They're sort of just a bit useless and always messaging me and asking questions, and that was always a stress factor for me. So getting rid of that pain, it's long overdue, to be honest. But yes, the mistake and that I should to learn from is when I come back to the UK, I'd only come for a few hours. I'd come to the warehouse, visit for like 2-3 hours, half a day. I
Hmm.
didn't really get time to fully understand. It's quite easy to cover up a few things in half a
Yeah,
day, so I didn't really understand, what how bad the condition was, and not that it was terrible, but it was just more.
yeah. Can
There's a
we?
few things.
Yeah, make it. It was still a multi-million-pound business that was still operating, making great
Yeah,
profit and everything like that. So, by the way, there was no disaster here or anything like that. It wasn't a business that went from failing to not failing anymore. You just realized, obviously, at the level it was operating at, now that you've stepped back in, everything's more streamlined. It's better margin,
yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah. So like, just the previous management were not adhering to health and safety, and obviously we're a grocery business, and there needs to be a certain standard in the warehouse, and they just weren't keeping it up. There was just a lack of care, and I think, like you said, we're now potential being 3 million plus this year, as a business over all the channels. You get into a size now where it's sort of you need to get to these sort of food standard. You need a higher level of standard, and you can't just have people just not going to care. So yeah, it's good, and my only recommendation is that this is definitely viable doing what I'm doing and the traveling. The mistake
Mhm.
I made was I
Yeah.
just coming back for half a day. Pick you aren't That's not enough time to pick out some of the issues. You don't get understand the staff who work under the management won't open out to you as much because they don't know you as well. So I think if
Yeah.
you are going to do this route, it definitely, by the way, it works. But what I'd recommend is if you come back to the UK, stay in a travel lodge like I'm doing, and stay for the week, and just stay for the whole week, work in the warehouse, and then you'll get to know your staff that you might have not met before. You get to understand the relationships between all the staffs a bit more, because before there's quite a lot of drama going on, and I didn't see that really because I was not involved. But I think at the level I'm at, even if you're doing, I'm not a multi-hundred million Mark Penn star business yet. Well, I don't think I can just sort of completely step away from the warehouse operation. I still got to be that character here, and people need to know me a bit better. So
Mhm.
that's my recommendations. Look, you can live that life of 3 months away, go to Mexico City, but when you come back, stay a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah. And I
Um,
think I've also seen a change in you and ambition reignited a little bit in your physical business, in the physical stock business of, maybe you were kind of happy where it was before because you obviously knew there was you always knew that there was a trade-off with you not being there 100%, that
nomad tax.
yeah, with nomad tax. We talked about that previously, of course, but I think now you being back in, being Alan Partridge, living out of the travel lodge, which is one of my favorite things. You guys are probably, a lot of you are probably too young for like Alan Partridge, but he lived out of a travel lodge, so that's what we call Jonny now. So you're staying at the travel lodge, but being there on an everyday basis, like I said, it's almost reignited an ambition. And I find your language really interesting because you say we're not 100 million yet, whereas that's the first time I've heard you say that for quite a long time again. And you said it previously, but then when you were in love with the nomad kind of lifestyle, but you knew that wasn't going to be possible. But now that you're back in the fold, you can see yourself growing towards those 8 figures a lot more now, right?
Yeah, definitely 8 figures. I think we hit that in 3 years or something.
Yeah.
How far? I don't know how far we want to scale from there. Like, I'll be honest with you. Right now, we're super very profitable. Like the business is making really good money, where we
Yeah.
haven't had that before. We've made good money, but not now. It's making really good money, like
Yeah.
proper money. And like when the business is like that, it's like, do you want to scale up the operations, move to a bigger warehouse where the rates, the square foot prices have gone up, and we're in an interesting place where the business right now is working well.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
still room for growth.
Oh
There's still
yeah, because we've had to stop stocking our fast selling lines because the minimum pallet orders is 8 pallets. So for this
Mhm.
product line, but we'd sell that in 2-3 weeks. Just can't physically store it right now.
Yeah.
Um, there's some brands that have rejected us actually, which we'll reach out to again, but we just couldn't meet So there's a company, then their minimum order quantity was 8 pallets per order as well. So again, it's just like if we really want to start working with these other brands,
Mhm.
you have to have a bigger warehouse space, because if you're
Yeah.
ordering 8 pallets of one SKU and 8 pallets per order, you need like 10,000 square foot, probably at
Mhm.
least. And we're in
Yeah.
3,000, and the new guy started yesterday was just like, I think he's not struggling, but he understands about the space, and he's just like, Jesus, nothing to put away. You're basically trying to find an inch.
Yeah. Like, where does it
Yeah.
go? And I think that's interesting because, by the way, if no one's watched it, we had Mark Penn on last week. He was talking about that. That was one of the key things he was talking about in how he's managed to scale, is definitely understanding that working, industrial space, and not taking on too much to overwhelm yourself with cost and commitment, versus leaving room for growth because of the people that you want to work with that will walk into your warehouse and say, well, where's all my stuff going to go? You haven't got
Yeah.
capacity for it, so we're not going to give you a contract.
It's just for him, it's different leagues, because
Mm.
I can say this now. Like last week, he mentioned it that he got bought out, not bought out, but some of his he sold off some of his company, right,
Yeah.
to a Fortune 500 company. So he has the backing of a large player, like a huge, like one of the biggest players.
It has the
So
security.
so his decision making is always going to be different to a small business owner, right? So it's
But
just a different
also,
league, isn't it, Mark? It's a different league.
yeah, but it's also big business comes with bigger problems. It's as simple as that. I was saying this to
Yeah.
someone this morning as well. It's like raising kids, a different problem, as they get older from versus when they're a baby. It's the same as your business grows as well. But Chris, yeah, he's hit the nail on the head there. While the cat's away, the mice will play, definitely.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that I said to Jonny at the time was, when it's something like this, you can't take it personally, because you do, right? You take it personally when you see you come in, and I think you said example, would you come in and the floor was dirty or something like that, and you feel a little bit like you feel mugged off, right? I've
Yeah.
left these people here in charge, and they've been taking the Michael essentially. But the thing is, I look at it a slightly different perspective. You're taking it a little bit personally, like it's against you. It's not against you, or it's not against the owner of the business. I mean, sometimes it is, obviously, but it's something you've got to separate that personal kind of thing, and it's not personal to you, and it's also having that understanding that no one's going to ever do as good a job as you. No one is.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
I mean,
Yeah,
most people could manage a warehouse better than me, but
yeah. Like,
but
Matt Cromie's pretty good at where as that. He's the one there mopping the floors and doing that.
yeah,
But
I'm
the
not very
staff
good at
don't do
managing a
it.
warehouse.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, the
Yeah.
opposite. The opposite. It's very easy to find someone who's going to be better in a warehouse for me. I'm okay, to be fair. I'm pretty hands on.
Mhm.
But you're right, and I'm gonna be honest. Like I was pretty good. Like it didn't affect me in the slightest. It didn't stress me out. I was a bit,
Mhm.
when it happened, we were actually on a call, and obviously I was shocked then, like of
Yeah.
what happened, and I can't go into the details, but from then, I just cracked on,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
just cracked
Yeah.
on, and that's the best thing in business. Is the business will only fail when you give up, right? I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
it's
And
just sometimes, yeah, you've got to have the understanding that at some point in your business, like for instance with Tom, his options there was, okay, I need to crack on with the UK business, get it back on its feet, or I just close it down. So
yeah.
some people were like, oh, I don't want that lifestyle. That doesn't work for me right now.
Mhm.
I'm going to give it up. But for me, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to give up. Let's just go back in. Easy peasy. 2-3 months back in the
Yeah. And
UK.
I think it was a slightly different scenario. Well, it was a massively different
Yeah.
scenario anyway as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
And I think that's the key takeaway. And I saw a lot of criticism for Tom. Oh, look at him, guru. He shut his business down. Actually, that's a really sensible, mature business maturity decision, right? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things. And it's like yourself in this scenario. You step back into the business that you were out of the fold a little bit before. The business was by no means failing, but you stepping back in, it's not turned it around, because it, like I said, it was never in a failing position or anything like that. Just making the best level of profit that it's been, and you know, there's more growth for the future. I think what's interesting here, guys, is taking the kind of underlying thing from Jonny's example. Is it wasn't a case of, you know, the whole world's against me, blah blah blah. Dug down, realized his plans that he thought was going to happen were not going to happen, didn't grumble about it, got back in, got on with it. But I need everyone to look at it. That's what happens in business. You know, it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go. And if you are not someone that can pivot quite easily, or pivot without resentment, or pivot without grumbling. Yeah, everyone has a little grumble. Of course they do. Everyone gets frustrated. I don't want to think, you know, we're not perfect. Like I said, I had 24 hours of meltdown over this whole Section 3 thing. 24 hours of meltdown the last time we got suspended. You know, nobody's perfect. It's as simple as that. But then it's having that business maturity of understanding that this stuff happens and it's going to keep happening. And just because you get bigger or more experienced, it doesn't alleviate it happening in the future. It's going to continue to happen, and you have to continue to be able to pivot for the rest of your lives, the rest of your business lives. It doesn't stop. That's what I'm saying.
And if you don't want to do that, then get a corporate job, right?
Absolutely.
It's a lot safer, more security, potentially probably more pay, more money, really, if you work corporate. Like at the end of the day, like if you get a London corporate job and work that grind, it's probably a bit more security there, right?
Absolutely. And that's why I put the Jim Rohn clip in the Facebook group yesterday, where he goes into that and he says, you know, it's all risky, baby. You know, everything's a risk. That's the secret. No matter what you do, it's all a risk if you're going to be in this game. He said, or just a bit like what Jonny said, go sit in the corner. We'll cover you with a blanket. We'll give you 3 meals a day. We'll do this and do that. And yes, it's an extreme version of what he's talking about. He's was a phenomenal speaker, one of the best public speakers there ever was, you know, in my opinion. So he's adding extra things to that. He doesn't really mean that. What he means is get a job. Be safe, never challenge yourself, never do this, never do that. And it's interesting. I know someone would it's a pivot said in a friend's voice, totally get what you mean. And someone said, yeah, but what is that level of risk? You know, how much do you do that? Well, I think that comes with confidence, that comes with experience and length in business. We're not saying that you need to risk everything on day one. Of course not. It's, you know, mitigated risks. It's taking risks once you've got results. It's taking, it's taking a step in a risk, not risking it all and gambling all at once. So I don't want anyone to get a misconception from that message that you should, you know, sell everything and put it all on black. It's not that. It's understanding that you have to take risks at a certain point after, you know, you've got results and seen if something's proven to you, or you can get a job. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more the energy. The risk here was just my personal energy and output, and then I have to put more work in, and basically have a lot of different responsibilities. So that's really the risk of the warehouse, right? You can do it yourself and be in that position, or you can scale up and start hiring out. And unfortunately, sometimes things crumble down, and you have to step back in. And it's like those books. What's the book? I can't remember what it's called, but they talk about having like the engineering hat and then the player hat and all these different hats.
Oh yeah, you're
CEO.
the commander or the creative or the. I've never done that actually. It's not psychometric testing, but yeah, you're one of the 4 key roles, whatever it is in your business.
CEOs are lazy CEO. What's the best?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like I think
CEOs are lazy.
Yeah, I'll have to read that one. I've not read that one. The one that I've seen is the one where they liken you to whatever role on a ship. Are you the captain? Are you the first mate? Are you that kind of, which is interesting. It's interesting. But I do believe if you run a business to a certain level and you don't want it to get past a certain level, it's like what Jonny's talking about there. Once you get to 8 figures, if you want to go beyond 8 figures, then you need double the staff, double the warehouse, double the stress, double the costs. It's all about choices and options in this as well. And we're very fortunate that we're in a position where we can all run businesses that provide phenomenal lifestyles, phenomenal lifestyles. I was talking to someone else earlier. This business has provided me with, what will be essentially a 30 grand holiday that I'm taking my family on next year. If you added it up and paid it all in cash, that's what it will be. And it gives you all these different opportunities to do it, as well as earning good money as well. So, but you don't have to sell your soul, and you don't have to do this because of all the great services and prep centers and whatever. But you can have a really great business operating at a certain level. You don't have to be a Mark Penn or whatever. You can do what works for you.
Yeah, the points are so, there's a lot of things you can do. And
those points must be burning a hole in your Amex right now, right?
There's a lot of points, but no, I hate saying this because it's like I don't want to be self-brag, but I paid to get my parents a gift to take them to the Maldives and next year as well. So I got their flights to the Maldives, so like a direct flight. So put them on business flights to the Maldives and back, and just stuff like that is nice to do in your business and sort of pay back a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously the points are building up.
Yeah, hopefully I might suggest sending your business partners to the Maldives. That would be a lovely gesture. A lovely gesture to send your business partners. But yeah, I can guess who the favorite child is in your family right now.
For now. Yeah. But yeah, that book is actually a really good read. It's called Great CEOs Are Lazy, and basically he talks about different roles in the business, where it's the learner role, which again, very important. Being a learner, always should be learning, always reading, always networking, always. That's when you get to this level in business, Natalie, it's all about learning more to get better, right? And a lot of your time should be learning. So if you think your business is running and it feels boring, you should be learning to improve. How do I improve this business? The other one is the architect. The architect, so I guess planning, and then the coach. So I'm sort of playing the coach now, and where I'm coming back and training my staff and helping them with different processes. And then there's the engineer, which is creating systems and software and all that sort of thing. And the final one is the player. Sometimes you have to go into the player role. So right now, for the last 2 months, I've been in player role, where I'm back in the warehouse as the player, managing it and in the business. And in a couple of months, I will slowly go away from the player and go back into the learner role, which is what I think is the ultimate one, is to always be in that learner position. But I think always could be the player in the business.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think you've got to have, like I said, if you've got ambitions of running a business, anything up to about 10 million a year, I'm not talking about turnover is vanity and everything like that, then if you're going to run anything up to a 7-figure business, you're not going to just play one role in your business. You have to wear those multiple hats. It's as simple as that. It's only really when you start getting into maybe a bit of venture capitalism money and bringing on CFOs and things like that, and going down that direction, like what we're talking about with Mark, where Mark can't wear every hat that needs to be worn in that business now. So there's a good, and that's why I loved having Mark on last week, to show that what can happen. That's what can happen, albeit very on a rare scale, but it can happen. But what it takes to achieve that, essentially. But most of us mere mortals, like today, I'll be doing like 5 different things, 5 different of those roles, today. But Jonny's right, it's the learner. So what I will always say as well is, if you are not always absorbing something, I learn more now than I have ever learned in my period in life. I've learned, I absorb more now. So if you're that person that ever contacts me and says that you're leaving the hive because you don't have time, then think about it. Either come up with a different reason to tell me why you're leaving the hive, because that doesn't cut with me, because you have to make time for this information. You have to make time. Yes, it may not be a priority, that type of information that's being provided, but don't accept that excuse of yourself. Don't kid yourself into the fact that you do not have time to learn, absorb, and, you know, evolve.
It's the most important part. It's like it's learning about, you know, you should be always reading, learning. So, for instance, these section threes and learning, you know, listen to this podcast and learning how you had 350 pages and how you got all the paperwork together. You know, you should be listening to these sort of podcasts and learning. Okay, Natalie's mentioned about the shipping confirmations and how they expire after 3 months or whatever. I can't remember. You said 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. Yeah.
So, you know, that's learning. You should be telling your team now, oh crap,
everything needs to be saved and put into a folder. Yeah,
let's get a Google Drive and sort this out ASAP. If you don't have that, and that's part of the learning experience. And I think every CEO entrepreneur, 50% of your time should be in that learning.
Yeah,
you know, always learning. And that's the good thing. You like, if someone walks into your office and you listen to this podcast, you say, hey, I'm at work, like, you know, I'm learning. So it's a good excuse to not do anything, because you can just sit there on the sofa and put your headphones on and be like, I'm working.
Exactly. It is. We're all working, baby. We're all working. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I've not read that Great CEOs. I'm going to read that. I love the sound of that one. Like I said, I've read something similar about the captains of the ship, but that one sounds really cool. So I want to read that. So like Cindy said, loving all the suggestions. Interesting question from Chris, and I think we'll make this the last question of the afternoon, because before we know it, like Jonny always tells me off for going over the hour. He's like, keep it to an hour, keep it to an hour. But it's so easy to like fall into it when it's interesting conversation, not just between us, but obviously you guys as well. And you know, that's why we love dedicating the time to do this. Yes, I know we should be like 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, but you know, we wouldn't be us if that was the case, or I wouldn't be me anyway. But what would you say? Actually, let's throw this out to everyone. What would everyone say? What do you think is the top level a one-man band can achieve? I take it you mean financially in terms of turnover, because, you know, obviously profit is something else. So what do you think, Jonny? I'll say what I think and then let everyone else know.
So include VAs? I guess it does.
Yeah, including VAs and prep centers and things like that. So being a one-man band where you are the overlord of everything, but not physical staff. Okay,
not physical staff.
Oh, okay. So, no, Chris says no VA. Okay, no that's VA. It. I'll do VA versus VA then.
I think depends on, again, first question is what market. If it's the American marketplace, also you're looking at a different answer because you've got to 10x all the numbers. But I reckon if you self-prep and did everything on your own, you could probably do 500,000.
That's my exact figure, 500,000.
In America, maybe that's... In America, that would probably be like 2, because you just the turnover is so much better.
Turnover's better. Everything's more expensive because it's in dollars. So I know what you. I know. I don't think. I don't think 2. I think like.
Can't prep that enough stock.
No, I don't think you'd be able to physically prep enough stock. So doing everything yourself, with no VAs, 500,000. That's exactly. It's funny. We're exactly the same figure, because that's exactly what I was going to say. And then team of VAs for sourcing, VA admin, you know, all the VAs, and then a prep center. I think comfortably you could probably get, and this is where Jonny and I might differ, I think you could comfortably get between 1 and 2 million, but I think you'd struggle to get beyond 2 with a prep center.
Yeah.
A single prep center.
Yeah. If you just do the maths of this, say like if you're self-prepping to FBA, I reckon if you're doing it yourself for 8 hours a day, you could probably do 400, 500 units a day. You're working 30 days a week. So 500 times 30 is 15,000 units. Say your average order value is 20. That is 300,000. So yeah, I mean, if you're self-prepping and working 60 hours a day and you can somehow work 30 days a month, and be able to send out 400, 500 units a day, and then the other 8 hours sourcing. you know, maybe you could do the 1 million, 2 million, but you'd be
Yeah.
working around the clock. And I guess that's it's a difficult. That's because you're playing 3 roles because you're working 16 hours
Yeah.
a day, 7 days a week. So
Yeah. And it's interesting because Chris has said here, another Christopher, managed 1 million during COVID, no staff, no VA, no prep, no fulfillment.
how many
But
hours?
I do know, obviously, Chris, and I know you'll be interested. I know you be happy to confirm this anyway as well, that you were working flat out. And obviously it was during COVID as well. And I'm not taking any, that is a phenomenal achievement, by the way. And that was, if I remember rightly, that was self-fulfillment as opposed to FBA. So obviously if you can do that, then you can take advantage. You generally, if you're a complete FBM business, then you can take advantage of selling at the highest possible price, the quickest reaction, which again would have been compounded even more so by COVID, higher prices, that type of thing. But it's really, really, a phenomenal achievement what you achieved during that period of time. But yeah, I do remember you saying, and pre-kids flat out. So yeah, couple of things there to add to that, but still a phenomenal achievement. But I think realistically now, working what would probably be a 40 hour, 45 hour a week, if you're doing it all on your own, 500,000. But then if you're doing it all on your own as well, what you've got to take into account, you don't need to probably hit 2 million because your margins are going to be so much bigger. You're not going to be paying prep fees. You're not going to be, you'll be able to capitalize on merchant fulfilled as well, which generally brings higher margins anyway as well. So what I would always say, be careful what you wish for. Big business, big turnover doesn't necessarily mean big profits. So 500,000, one-man band, if somebody is happy to do that day in, day out, really capitalize on merchant fulfilled and some of the other things we're talking about, you could be 20% net margin easily. 20% net margin, could even be more, could be 25% for sure, which is, 150,000 profit a year.
Bloody nice. That's pretty enough for you as well. Yeah, you'd be all right with that.
Don't know, it does make me laugh whenever Jonny says, yeah, high profits, we're doing this really well. I don't think it's so wasted on you, Jonny. So wasted.
I know. So wasted. Oh, to be fair, I did buy, I think I'd said I bought a golf driver, which was pretty pricey. That was my first expensive purchase for about 3-4 years. But bought a golf driver, sport myself. Yeah. It's like 400, I think it's like 400 quid. But yeah, that's probably like a meal out the family for you, isn't it? I guess. At times.
Well, there are 4 of us anyway, but no,
I know.
It wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad. But no, what's interesting is I was getting my daughter ready this morning, and like, I don't know if anyone's seen those sort of TikToks where like all of your packages, I didn't order them all on the same day, but they all turned up on the same day. So I brought them upstairs, put them all away. My skincare had run out at the same time. Some makeup had run out at the wrong time. I just had this box full of stuff, and my daughter, she hates it when I spend money. She's like, whenever I can't go shopping with her, she's like, how much? How much? She's like, Mummy, what have you been buying? I said, and I found myself justifying it to a 7-year-old. I was like, it all came at the same time. I'd run out of this, and I'm like, what am I doing? She's 7. Why am I justifying it? But yeah, I do. I have been known to like a purchase. That's all I'm going to say. I have been known to like a purchase. So yeah.
That's funny.
But we will leave it. We will leave it there. Right. I mean, yes, that was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be today. So apologies, guys, if you thought you were just going to be tuning in just for a few, an hour. So we will try and stick to it next week. So I'm not sure. I think we've got a guest next week, but I shall let you know in the group as always. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your participation. Jonny, great to have you back. I know initially it was at your detriment, but it's great to have you back here and back in the warehouse, and great to hear everything's going so well again on Not that it wasn't, but you get what I'm trying to say. So we will see you next week, guys. If you're a Hive member, we'll see you at 7 o'clock tonight. But as always, keep those questions posting and look out for some new videos this week. And also all of the stuff about Section 3, we'll get that posted as quickly as possible. But have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you later. Take care.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.